The 12 Days of Christine holds a special place within the discourse around Inside Number 9. While it has many hallmarks of a classic episode, witty dialogue, interesting gimmick, and even its own elements of horror, Christine's story is mostly talked about in terms of its emotional impact. For many, this elevated the show from a quirky comedy with dark twists to a brilliant work of writing and drama, capable of resonating with its viewers' heart and soul. Even for those of us who already knew that Inside Number 9 was the best thing on television, Christine's story managed to affect us in new and unexpected ways. But what makes this episode so special, and why does it still leave me in tears after every single watch? To answer that, and seeing as we're fast approaching the holiday season, today I'll be taking a deep dive into the 12 Days of Christine. Spoiler warning from here on, and I'll maybe throw in a tissue warning as well. The story centres around 12 days in the life of Christine Clark, played by Sheridan Smith. Each scene moves time forward by 1 year and 1 month, and takes place during a different holiday, starting with New Year's and ending on Christmas Day. Along the way, we share in Christine's loves and losses as other characters come and go from her life. But being Inside Number 9, there's also a sting in the tale. Upon reaching the final day, Christine is confronted with a shocking realisation that her life has been flashing before her eyes because she's about to die. What we've seen takes place entirely within her mind and memories, with only a vague perception of what's happening to her in the real world. The ending also explains the presence of the Stranger, a mysterious figure who's been invading Christine's thoughts at various points throughout her journey. Even if you saw it coming, Christine's goodbye is one of the most poignant moments in television history. We're deeply sad to see her go, despite only knowing her for half an hour. Those 12 short scenes conveyed a lifetime of joy and sorrow, and we're not quite ready to see it end. Now we're going to look at those 12 days individually, analysing the themes and seeing how these fractured moments can represent a person's life. I also have a few thoughts and theories about the episode, which I'll share with you towards the end. Day 1. The start of our story is also the beginning of a brand new year. 23-year-old Chrissy returns to her flat in the wee small hours of New Year's morning, accompanied by a young man named Adam. The two met at a fancy dress party. Christine went as a naughty nun, and Adam is dressed as a fireman. The couple make their introductions by the glowing blue lights on the Christmas tree, and the atmosphere is one of fun and laughter. The phone rings, and Christine gets up to answer it as the days transition. This first scene introduces our two main characters and shows the genesis of their relationship, which will be central to our story from here on. We see them in the first flush of romance, and they appear to be intoxicated in more ways than one. This is obviously a very happy memory for Christine. We also establish the setting, and virtually everything we see from now on will take place within these walls. While not the most luxurious of homes, this humble flat is our protagonist's cosy and familiar safe haven, and it becomes something of a character in itself throughout the episode. The decor may change throughout the seasons, and residents may come and go, yet in many respects, the flat remains exactly the same. While anyone who's seen the episode already might be overwhelmed by the colossal degree of foreshadowing, there is nothing in the characters' words or behaviour that would indicate that something is wrong. To them, this is merely a joyful and passionate first encounter. Day 2. It's Valentine's Day, and Christine is talking on the phone to Adam. The two are giddy with excitement as they make plans to spend a romantic evening together. We also meet Fung, Christine's surly flatmate and a student of mathematics. Fung talks about continuous quantities and portable vectors, using the example of Adam and Christine's relationship, which has so far lasted for 1 year and 1 month. Christine then opens a Valentine's card, which turns out to be from an old boyfriend she hasn't spoken to in over a decade. Unaware of how he got her address, and unimpressed with his childish efforts at poetry, Christine rips up the card. A year has passed, but we see that Christine and Adam are still very much in their honeymoon phase, so all seems to be going well there. However, two more important things are also happening in this scene. First of all, Fung's explanation of continuous quantities helps us understand the structure of the episode. From now on, we know that each scene will take place 1 year and 1 month after the last. We also get our first anomaly, as the card from Christine's childhood sweetheart doesn't belong here. Its appearance seems to have rattled our main character, who's been in such a good mood up until this point. But for all we know, Christine just has a clingy ex with a limited capacity for poetry. Fung tries to explain it rationally, and I have to say, I really like her frankness. As for how these two ended up being flatmates, I have no idea. Day 3. Today is Mother's Day, or Mothering Sunday, which occurs in the UK during March. Marion, who is Christine's mother, has come to visit and has brought the family photos. Adam, who's now been Christine's boyfriend for over 2 years, is enjoying the embarrassment and is starting to feel like part of the family. The mood is interrupted when he takes out a photo of Christine's old boyfriend, and Marion informs us that he died of leukemia at age 16. Somehow, Christine doesn't remember this. And, just in case the naked baby photos weren't embarrassing enough, Marion then brings up the subject of marriage. Christine gets cross and tells her mother to drop it, as the couple have no plans to marry or even to move in together. We also get our first mention of Christine's father, Ernie, and the hint that he is suffering from some form of degenerative illness, which is strongly implied to be some form of dementia. The Mother's Day scene introduces several key themes. First of all, marriage, which Christine seems reluctant to discuss at this point. This marks the first time she seems apprehensive about her relationship with Adam, and it looks like they haven't really planned or talked about the future. The two just seem to be living in the moment. We also get our first mention of death when we hear what happened to Christine's boyfriend. The idea of someone dying tragically young is important for obvious reasons, plus this reveal indicates that something was very wrong with the previous scene. There's no logical explanation for the Valentine's card. Either the last scene didn't happen like that, or Christine is receiving love notes from beyond the grave. The fact that Christine doesn't remember this event shows her memory to be unreliable, with a tendency to get things mixed up. This will be very important later on. It's also been hinted that a condition related to memory loss already exists within her family. Later, we'll see the full effect of Ernie's illness, not just on himself, but on the people around him. Christine's anxiety in later scenes, especially when she gets things jumbled up, might stem from the fear that she would eventually end up the same way. Then we have the photos. Emotionally significant, powerful memory triggers, and a nice bit of foreshadowing for the final scene. Day 4. Fung has left the building and Adam has moved in with Christine. The two seem happy, if a little nervous about the prospect of living together. Adam goes out and Christine says that she has a surprise for him when he returns. This turns out to be an Easter egg hunt around the flat. Christine plays some music as she starts hiding the chocolate eggs, only to be startled as a real egg gets splattered against the wall. More eggs are thrown, and we can see the shells lying broken on the kitchen floor as the lights flicker on and off. She calls for Adam, but he is nowhere to be found. As Christine looks around in fear, she gets her first glimpse of the stranger, a man in a dripping wet raincoat and glasses who starts moving towards her saying, "I'm sorry." There's a lot going on in this scene. First, we can't tell whether Christine is joking or not when she tells Adam that he has to move in because somebody has to pay Fung's share of the rent. Of course, it's normal for a couple to feel apprehensive at this point. It is a big step. But it's hard to tell if this is what they both wanted or if financial circumstances have pressured them into it. Either way, things still seem well enough for now. You might say there's a little foreshadowing in the way that Adam leaves during this scene and doesn't come back. More on that subject later. We're also starting to see several images from the crash scene, as Christine must have gained some limited awareness of what's actually happened to her. This explains the smashed eggs, flickering blue lights, and the presence of the stranger, all details from Christine's car accident. But after the head injury, her brain is unable to make sense of what she's seen. She's frightened, partially because she doesn't understand, but also paradoxically because part of her mind must know what's coming. She starts to fear the stranger in the same way that she's starting to fear death. This is also the first time we hear the song Time to Say Goodbye, and we get different versions of this song throughout the episode. It's a serene and beautiful piece of music, but also an ominous reminder of what Christine must do. Like the things she's seen and the presence of the stranger, the song is yet another harbinger of death. Just as a side note, did anyone else think the stranger was the ghost of Christine's ex-boyfriend? That was my impression the first time around. Nice red herring from Stephen Reece there. Day 5. Christine wakes up with a fright, but Adam tells her it was just a dream. It's a bank holiday Monday, which Christine seems to have forgotten about. Two very important details are revealed about the couple's relationship status. and clearly it's been an eventful year. First, we see the wedding photo on the nightstand. Next, we notice that Christine is now heavily pregnant. The two of them spend the bank holiday building a cot for the baby, but then Christine bursts into tears, confessing her worries that the baby will spoil everything. Adam assures her that it will not. So a lot has happened in the last 13 months, and we might wonder exactly how that came to be. There was no mention of them getting engaged last Easter, and the union appears to have been blessed very quickly. While it's possible that they spontaneously decided to get married soon after moving in, then had a very short engagement, I suspect that one of two things might have forced the issue. Either Christine wanted the wedding in a hurry because her father's condition deteriorated, or it is quite possible that Jack wasn't planned. Regardless, the pair are married now and the baby will be here soon. When Christine gets upset, her reaction feels quite normal for a first-time mother-to-be. She's dealing with a lot of stress and pregnancy hormones, which might also account for her forgetting the date earlier on. However, it's not the first time she's forgotten something. Likewise, her tearful moment might be natural, but it might be because deep down she knows that her and Adam aren't ready for this. But that's a hard thing to admit to, and she knows that the baby is coming regardless. Another important thing that happens twice in this scene is seeing Christine being comforted by a loved one. Adam is there for her when she wakes from the nightmare, and again when she starts to cry. Comfort is vital to Christine right now, and she seeks it from the other characters throughout the story. And of course, she really needs it. The real-life Christine is injured, lonely and scared. There's no one around but Jack, who she must be extremely worried about, and the stranger, whom she's still frightened of. That support and reassurance she seeks from her loved ones is what will help her take that final step when the time comes. Day 6. It's the middle of the night and the baby is spoiling everything. Sorry, that's a bit harsh, but new dad Adam definitely looks a bit stressed out as he gets up to check on Jack. As he leaves the room, Christine signs a Father's Day card from the baby and places it on Adam's pillow. Through the baby monitor, we hear Adam singing as Jack stops crying. We then hear a different voice, and this time it's the stranger again, saying, "Come on, little man, let's get you out of there." Christine rushes to the baby's room and screams upon finding an empty crib, but then Jack turns up safe and sound in his father's arms. Still unsettled and clearly confused, Christine turns off the light. Well, being new parents is no easy task, and Christine and Adam seem to be coping all right, all things considered. Clearly the pressure is still being felt. But life can't be all firemen's costumes and Easter egg hunts. However, we'll find out later that one of them understood this better than the other, and that's why their relationship ultimately failed. We also have the repetition of the song "Time to Say Goodbye," quickly followed by the presence of the stranger, because of course death hasn't gone away. Worse still for Christine is the fear that something is coming for her son. Remember that in real life, Jack was in the same car. This will manifest in several instances where Jack appears to be in danger, followed by the swift reassurance that her child is unharmed, as if Christine is vaguely aware that Jack is being pulled to safety. But once again, she can't quite make sense of what she's seeing and hearing on account of her injuries. One last thing to note is the mobile of cars and emergency vehicles hanging above Jack's crib. A seemingly innocuous detail, but one that connects this memory with the ongoing crash scene. Day 7. Christine opens her eyes and her friends and family have gathered to celebrate her 30th birthday. We see Ernie for the first time, but sadly his condition appears to be quite bad today. Nevertheless, Christine is still glad to have him there. We also meet Bobby, Christine's best friend, who's just managed to get her the perfect birthday gift. And they're playing The Clash. No analysis from me there, I just really like The Clash. Adam arrives late and there appears to be some tension in the room. This might have something to do with Zara, the attractive young colleague who's just started under him. Has she? Christine is then blindfolded, as is tradition in her family, and wanders through the flat trying to catch her guests. After giving poor old Ernie a fright, Christine slowly approaches the room to the sound of creaking bed springs. What could it possibly be? While the atmosphere is one of joy and merriment, something about Christine's manner seems off from the beginning. She also looks a little scruffier than she did before, especially next to Adam's well-groomed work colleague. And that part where Zara asks her to turn around is just horrible. Being the good friend that he is, Bobby doesn't like this either. Steve Pemberton is always fun when he's camping it up, and those dirty looks and catty comments were just spot on. Christine might be browbeaten and non-confrontational, but Bobby knows the score, and he is judging. And of course, Marion tries to defend her daughter as well. While nothing is confirmed at this point, the red flags are still pretty obvious. On rewatch, we know that Adam will eventually leave his wife, and in the original script, he did in fact leave Christine for Zara. So, was he cheating back then, or just loitering with intent? Christine and Bobby seem to have their suspicions, and the ending alludes to something untoward, something Christine might even have walked in on. We know she's mixing up her memories, plus it would be pretty stupid of Adam to cheat on his wife in a house filled with her friends and family. My guess is that she's conflating this memory with another, more horrible one, where catching her guests means catching them in the act, and the blindfold is a symbol for being blinded to the truth. Of course, blindness can allude to other things too. Christine remains blind to her accident and her impending death. She's also struggling to keep her eyes open in the real-life car wreck. But when we see this paired with the presence of Ernie, someone whose eyes are open but who appears to see nothing, we see again the fear of how Christine might eventually end up. Vacant, unresponsive, and no longer really there. As Marion says, he wouldn't want you to remember him like this. Thankfully, this won't be the last memory Christine has of her father. Day 8. Our suspicions are alleviated as Christine walks through the door to find Adam on the bed packing a suitcase. The family is going away on summer holiday. However, things haven't quite gone to plan. Ernie has sadly passed away, and Christine didn't have the heart to ask Marion to babysit, so now Jack is coming with them. Adam is in a foul mood and takes it out on his wife, insulting their home and claiming that their life together isn't fun anymore. Christine is blunt with him, but is clearly struggling to keep everyone happy. She dutifully collects the passports and takes a long look at Jack's baby picture. This definitely feels like the last straw in Adam and Christine's relationship, and I can't imagine that holiday was anything but an utter train wreck. Adam just wants things to be fun, like they used to be, and I'm sure Christine would want that too. But that's not the hand that life has dealt them. They're parents now, like it or not, and Christine has recently lost her father after years of watching him slip away. She can't just dump Jack on a grieving widow and then jet off into the sun. It's not her fault, but she appears to be getting blamed for it all the same. Again, I wonder if there's some conflation of memory here. Adam angrily packing a suitcase might be something she also witnessed right before he left. There's also a strong feeling of helplessness throughout the scene, as Christine just can't seem to do anything right by Adam. We don't see the relationship officially end, but we definitely saw it hanging by a thread. But life goes on, and Christine is reminded of this when she looks at the photo of Jack. Again, looking at photos is something that will be important later. She grows aware of the passage of time, and her little boy growing up so fast. Day 9. It's the 1st of September and Jack's very first day of school. Christine has the camera out to capture the moment, as Marion helps to get Jack ready. Adam is no longer around. As her son heads out into the world and Christine is left alone, she breaks down crying at the sight of Adam's belongings packed in a box. She's absolutely heartbroken. However, she's not alone. Ernie is here, alive and well, even though it's been established that he died the year before. Nevertheless, Christine is comforted by her father's presence and kind words. He also says something odd before the end, giving us one of our strongest clues yet as to what's happening. This is meant to be a happy memory. Here we see Christine at her lowest point. Adam is left, and he's not coming back. It's safe to say that their marriage is well and truly over. Like many parents, she's also emotional at the thought of her child growing up too fast and going off without her. Sadly, Jack really will be growing up without her from now on, as Christine does not survive the crash. Like so many things in this episode, it's a seemingly natural reaction to one of life's milestones that has a strong double meaning once you're aware of the context. We also get a very beautiful scene between Christine and her father, and for the first time we get an idea of what their relationship was like before his illness. Here he is, with his mental faculties completely intact, and his daughter must have been missing him for a very long time. This can't be happening, but it's exactly what Christine needs. Her father's presence might be pure wish fulfillment, or maybe Christine really did imagine talking with Ernie that day. Then, in her memory, the thought of him became real. Once again, her memories might be fusing together, and it's possible that she's thinking back on all the times her father was there for her in the past. She knew him well and knew exactly what he would have to say. Another idea is that Christine feels closer to him in spirit now that she herself is so close to death. Remember, the days are numbered, and there aren't many left to go. Day 10. It's Halloween night and Christine and Bobby are putting on their costumes. They're getting ready for a party where Christine is supposed to be meeting a new man, only she doesn't seem all that thrilled by the prospect. Well dressed as the Wicked Witch and Tony the Tiger, Christine laments the state of her life as Bobby gently consoles her. Someone walks through the door and straight into Jack's room, shortly before Adam appears at the door dressed as Satan. Make of that costume what you will. Terrified as someone has just invaded her home, Christine runs to find Jack in the arms of the stranger, who exclaims, "I've got him." Can I just say, I love Christine and Bobby in this scene. The affection between them and the way they're so comfortable in each other's space depicts a special kind of friendship, one that's lasted for many years. While life isn't perfect, we know that Christine is at least trying to move on, and that her and Bobby can still go out and have fun. It feels like Christine hasn't had much fun in her life for a long time. This is also the last time we see the stranger in Christine's memories. By now she seems more worried about him coming for Jack than coming for her. This says a lot about her maternal love, as she values her son's life above her own. While she doesn't yet know of the stranger's intentions, she still fears him and hasn't quite realised that Jack is safe thanks to his efforts. Day 11. Jack is back in his mother's arms as Christine rushes home in a panic. It's bonfire night and Jack has burned his hand on a sparkler. Christine calls her mother, tends to Jack's wound, then calls Adam to tell him what's happened. As she talks, she knocks over some toy cars with her foot. At the end of the phone call, and with fireworks still exploding in the background, Adam tells Christine that he loves her. Marion arrives and, to her surprise, Jack seems to be just fine. Christine checks his hands and sure enough, there's not a mark on him. However, Marion reminds Christine that she had the same accident when she was Jack's age, which is confirmed when we see a faded scar on her palm. How did she get that mixed up? This scene is an odd one in many respects, and I'll be explaining in detail why I think that's the case. But for now, we have some confusion over a burnt hand and an unprompted declaration of love. Once again, we thought that Jack was in danger, but he turned out to be fine. Christine says he was crying, but Marion claims he was only doing that because he was frightened. In real life, Christine probably heard him crying and worried he'd been hurt in the crash. It's only when she accepts that Jack is safe that she recognises her own wounds, both from the firework and in the car. In both cases, it's Christine who's been injured, not Jack. The memory lapses have become much more frightening now, and Christine appears more confused and dishevelled than ever. Marion tries her best to reassure her daughter as she starts to panic again, before we move straight on to the next scene with no obvious transition or costume change. Day 12. Marion places a paper hat on Christine's head, blood red to match her painted nails. It's Christmas Day and everyone has come to the flat for dinner. By now it's very clear that something isn't right. Adam is there in his festive attire, being the doting husband. Bobby and Marion are in good spirits as usual, and they're also joined by Fung and Ernie. Like in the September scene, Christine's father is in good form, only now everyone can see him, and they're acting like this is completely normal. Despite the warm atmosphere, Christine is plagued with a sense of dread, although it isn't quite clear what she's afraid of. Fung says it's time for the present, and a reluctant Christine is presented with a beautifully crafted photo album, featuring many snapshots from the life we've just witnessed. However, it also prompts Christine to remember what's really happening. Back in the real world, we see everything together for the first time. The crash, the head injury, the smashed eggs from the shopping on the car seat, the song on the radio, and the flashing blue lights from the emergency vehicles. We also see the stranger who managed to pull young Jack to safety. Sadly, Christine was not so lucky, and her time is running out. As the real-life Jack watches the paramedics trying to save his mother, the Jack in Christine's memory comes to give her one last hug. He's dressed as an angel in a Christmas nativity play. Adam tells him, "Mummy's going now," but Christine doesn't want to leave. Finally, Christine's friends and family assemble before her as Marion tells her, "It's time." The song "Time to Say Goodbye" begins playing in the background. Christine takes a deep breath, looks at them all for one last time, and tells them, "Goodbye everyone, I love you." Before we analyse this final scene, let's take a look at the pieces that have come together. The photo album provides the perfect metaphor. Not only does it capture those moments that made Christine the person she was, it also represents the combined efforts of her friends and family who put the album together. Each picture in Christine's book has an emotional core that provokes a powerful memory. Sadly, it's come to an end, but she finds some solace in looking through it all one last time. Certain lines of dialogue can be interpreted in different ways, such as the moment where Christine tells them, "I don't want the present." While she might just be refusing the gift, it's more likely that Christine doesn't want to go back to the present day, and would rather stay where she is, in the comfort of her home, thinking about the past. Christine's last words are important, as saying goodbye is sadly not something she'll be able to do in real life. For anyone who's ever lost someone, the significance of saying goodbye cannot be understated. Though imaginary, the act of saying these words provides closure for Christine and helps to put her mind at rest before she can let go. However, there were some other things left unresolved in Christine's life, and I think that's what the last two scenes were all about. Unlike the other days, I don't think that these were based on actual memories, but were instead constructs, created entirely within Christine's mind. I have some evidence to support this, and one of them is my theory on the timeline of events. And this is where I start to think about things way too much. Here's what I think might be the precise timeline of the episode. This is based on a comment made by Christine in the first scene when she tells Adam that her Chinese zodiac sign is the dog. This indicates that she was born in 1982 and that her 30th birthday would have taken place in 2012. The rest of the dates can be filled in using details from the script, along with a calendar of UK public holidays. However, there is one detail that contradicts this, and that's the date on Jack's passport. But looking at this timeline, I'm inclined to believe that the first one is more accurate. The days are a little out of place, meaning that Fung attended seminars on the weekend and Jack started school on a Thursday. His precise date of birth, as shown here, also means that his father managed to get his age wrong during Christine's birthday. Not only that, but after this scene, Christine would remain pregnant for at least another 2.5 months. Poor woman. Also, because Christine's memory gets progressively worse as time moves on, I trust something she said on day 1 over something she saw in day 8. Finally, the Year of the Dog timeline was based on the script written by Steve and Reece, while this one was based entirely on a prop. So here's my theory. 2015 was the year in which the episode aired, and I also believe that to be the year when Christine died. By that point in her timeline, Christine had run out of memories to revisit and thus began inventing her own. But there's more to support this idea than just one line of dialogue and me overthinking things. Even if my timeline is completely wrong, I still have my doubts about days 11 and 12, and I think this is the point where Christine's brain begins shutting down. First, we get an entire scenario based on a non-existent accident, rooted entirely in something that happened to Christine during the 80s. This is followed by a Christmas dinner party with an impossible guest list. Fung was long gone by then, and Ernie had already died, but Jack is also present, and Adam makes a reference to what happened the previous year. It just doesn't add up. and things are just a little bit too perfect. Speaking of which, we also had Adam and Christine reunited, as if by magic. I'm not saying it's impossible, some divorced couples do get back together, but here it just happens out of nowhere. Looking back at the relationship, we can see how it all went wrong over time, and that it was Adam who ultimately left. I'm sure that, in her loneliest moments, Christine must have wished that Adam would fall in love with her again, come home, and leave all their emotional baggage at the door. However, life isn't like that, as Christine already knows. This is just a fantasy version of the man she once loved, come back to sweep her off her feet once more. One last thing. I already noted the lack of costume change between these two scenes, but it's also worth noting that Christine is dressed in the exact same clothing she was wearing when she died. It's as if she's been locked in time from the point of the accident and is unable to change or move forward. Likewise, Jack is wearing the same coat and hat during the accident as he had on Bonfire night. Maybe this is just a sign of Christine's growing awareness of what's really happening, or maybe these fantasies aren't quite as solid as her actual living memories. I like to think that Christine created a place in her mind where she could go to resolve her problems. She based it on her home, which was the place she felt the most safe and secure. Here, she managed to patch things up with Adam. She got to see her father alive and well once more. She got to take one last look at her loved ones, along with one last hug from her child. If someone in Christine's situation was granted their dying wish, I can imagine it would look something like this. While I enjoyed researching timelines for this video, guess I'm just weird like that, it's important to remember that this wasn't the point of my analysis. This story contains a great deal of depth and meaning for me, and I don't want it to get too lost in the nitty-gritty details. This was just a fun diversion, and I wouldn't want anyone to take it too seriously. Now, at this point I could keep rhyming off all the details in the episode that allude to the twist, but I'd rather take the time to answer a different question. What was it about the 12 Days of Christine that touched the hearts of its audience? It's not simply a matter of feeling sad because someone died. People die all the time in this series. But what was it about Christine that really made us care? One thing that kept us emotionally connected to the story was the warmth and relatability of our main character. On the surface, Christine's life was nothing remarkable. She lived in a small flat, worked in a shoe shop, got married and had a baby. But the everyday details we see in her world is what makes it seem real, and the love she had for the people in it was the enduring feeling throughout. There's an awful lot to like about Christine Clark. She's funny, she's kind, and she always tries to put on a brave face despite the hardships she faces. She cares deeply about her friends and family, and we can see this in all the little things that she does for them. And it's heartbreaking to see this cheerful young woman losing her confidence over time, especially following the divorce and the death of her father. My heart goes out to her, especially when she's watching Jack get ready for school, and the moment she realises why her life has been flashing before her. Much of the pathos comes down to the acting talent of Sheridan Smith, who was just wonderful as Chrissy. Every line delivery and every tiny gesture is perfect, and her smile at the end still gets me every single time. Above all, the thing that resonates the most powerfully with me is Christine's acceptance of death. This is something we all have to face one of these days, and we can only hope that it will happen peacefully and that her last thoughts will be happy ones. Christine is taken far too soon, but at least she gets her wish, seeing herself once again surrounded by the people she loved. Some of my favourite portrayals of death depict a benevolent, gentle and deeply misunderstood being, worlds apart from the cartoon Reaper image we see so often. Much like the stranger who saved her son's life, death for Christine is terrifying at first, but her dying thoughts have transported her far away from the pain and horror of the crash site and back to the loving home where she belongs. Or maybe for Christine, this is what heaven looks like. She's scared, as anyone would be, but the presence of her family gives her the strength and peace of mind to finally let go. This is the message that Christine leaves us with. Despite its ups and downs, life is a gift to be treasured. The people in our lives won't be there forever, and we'll miss them when they're gone. Above all, we see that a life filled with love is a life lived well, and one that we can look back on with few regrets. Christine's final moments hit us with a universal truth. Like her book of photos, each of our own stories must eventually come to an end. And we don't know what will happen when the time comes. Maybe our lives do flash before our eyes. Maybe we'll get one extended moment to resolve our fears and make sense of it all. And maybe, just maybe, our last thoughts will include one last look at our loved ones and the chance to say goodbye. Hopefully, we all get to be so lucky. Hi everyone, thanks for watching, and sorry if I got a bit mushy just then. Blame Steve and Reece, they're the ones who wrote the episode. And well, it is Christmas after all. Special thanks to Thomas O'Boyle who provided the music for this video. You've really outdone yourself this time. So, what's next for my channel in 2020? I have a few ideas, and I always like hearing yours, so please feel free to leave them below. I'll be taking a short break between videos for the Christmas holidays, but I'll still be answering comments. Hopefully, we'll be back at number 9 very soon for Series 5, and I just can't wait. So, that's it from me. Have a great Christmas, or whatever you're celebrating in your part of the world, and I'll see you all next year. Till then, good night.